we're attempting to do today is tag juvenile mutton snapper here in the Lake Worth Lagoon to support a research effort being conducted by FAU Master's candidate Brent McKenna, and we are collaborating with him to help make his research project a little more efficient by getting West Palm Beach Fishing Club members out here catching some of the fish that he intends to tag for his study. Our goal is to tag juvenile mutton snappers, and part of the intent is to learn more about this important species of fish. It's important both recreationally and commercially because the life cycle of a mutton snapper requires that they spend the early portions of their life in an estuary like the Lake Worth Lagoon here. So estuaries like this one play a really critical role in their life cycle before they move offshore. We're trying to learn more about these fish because they're really important, and estuaries like the Lake Worth Lagoon need to be healthy to support a resource like mutton snapper. So part of our research and collaboration with folks like Brent at FAU and the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission's Wildlife Research Institute are designed to try to help unlock some of the mysteries to these really cool game fish. They're just such a popular recreational and commercial fish because they're great eating. They have to be 18 inches to keep, but these fish can grow to over 20 pounds. So it's really important that we have estuaries like the Lake Worth Lagoon so that we're helping recruit new generations of mutton snapper to move offshore. Let's let this guy go. So tagging fish is really part of the West Palm Beach Fishing Club's DNA. It literally started over 50 years ago, assisting researchers in trying to learn more about Atlantic sailfish. It was really the very beginning of the cooperative game fish tagging effort that paired recreational anglers with marine scientists to try and learn more about the behaviors of the fish, the migratory patterns, age and growth information. And so the tagging program really has its roots at the West Palm Beach Fishing Club back in the late 60s, early 70s. And we used to use dart tags back then, and fast forward 50 years, technology has improved where we're actually using electronic transmitter tags that have a unique ping to them. Each fish has a unique ping that has been tagged, and that information can be detected by underwater acoustic receivers. So we learn a great deal through this program. There's a small mutton right there. That's the target species. This is a juvenile mutton snapper, and a lot of people misidentify this fish when they're fishing in the estuary because it looks a lot like a lane snapper. But one of the best ways to distinguish a mutton from a lane is its pointed anal fin. A lane snapper has a rounded anal fin and is a little more yellow. The blue line underneath the mutton's eye is another giveaway, but it's really this pointed anal fin that is the dead giveaway to distinguish a juvenile mutton and a lane snapper. And you can see this is a very small mutton snapper. They have to be 18 inches to keep to harvest. But again, the Lake Worth Lagoon is a critical estuary for juvenile species of mutton snapper and other snappers for that matter, but especially the mutton snapper. And we see a lot of them here in the lagoon, so it's really important to try to improve the water quality of the lagoon and increase marine habitat like seagrass, oysters, mangroves, to support animals like this. We're going to let this little guy go.
So we take a little fin clip from the anal fin. It's a pretty small piece, but we're just trying to extract DNA from it. It's even a small amount of genetic material is enough for us to tell, or to get a genetic profile of each one of these fish that we can then compare to other genetic profiles from fish caught from the adult population.
That's a good one. There he is. Yay! That's the one right there. Beautiful fish. All right. So what's really cool when we do this, we inevitably catch a wide variety of species in the lagoon, which really emphasizes how important this estuary is for a lot of different species of fish. And one of the species that we've been seeing an increase in the last 5 or 10 years is bonefish. And lo and behold, right out of the chute, club member Dan Miller catches a nice Lake Worth Lagoon bonefish while we're trying to target the mutton snappers. Come on over here, let's take a look at that fish. Look at that fish. What a beautiful animal. Oh my gosh. People think of the Bahamas or the Florida Keys or Belize when they think about bonefish. Rarely does the Lake Worth Lagoon come into the conversation, but more and more, we're seeing a lot of these really cool fish in the lake. This is a beautiful example. And another mutton on the bow.
Once we've caught a mutton snapper and we've gotten it appropriately stored away in a live well, we want to ensure that we understand where it came from and try to get a better understanding of what environmental conditions brought it there. So we take note of the location in which we caught it, the time in which we caught it, and then that information can be used when it's paired with the location data that comes from tagging the fish to better understand how they're moving around the lagoon. So we're going to take a lat long coordinate, and then we'll go ahead, pull that fish out of the live well and get it tagged. These are the Vemco V9 acoustic tags that we're using to tag mutton snapper. They're small enough that they're not taking up more than 2% of the body mass of the animal, so they don't inhibit the animal or make it behave in a different way than if it just didn't have the tag at all. You can probably tell they're fairly small. They're smaller than the size of a AAA battery. What that means though is they have a somewhat limited lifespan. These tags only last for about 2 years before you no longer get any data from them. But during that time period, they transmit a unique identifying code that is detected by a receiver within a certain distance of them. And as a result, you get an idea of where these animals are as long as they have one of these tags attached to them.
We have found the target species. I don't know, this is like mutton number 5 or 6. Some of them have been too small to tag, but this one is basically the optimum size. Just a beautiful fish. So this is a perfect example of why the juvenile muttons are in here. Fish hang out where there's a food source, and that little mutton we just caught spit up this little crab. It's just part of the whole ecology of the lagoon. Where there's forage fish and food, the bigger fish will follow. We've got a double header. Man, we got the right ones coming. We've got the right ones coming. Very nice. The nice thing about using the jigs in the shrimp versus just a fish finder rig with a shrimp sitting on the bottom is that the fish don't tend to get gut hooked. See, every fish we've caught has been hooked right in the lip or the mouth, no gut hooking. And so, when we're investing all this time and money into tagging these fish, we want to make sure they're healthy when we let them go. So the jig and the shrimp is the better technique because you're less likely to gut hook the fish and will get a successful release. Going to be keeping Brent busy today. It's a good thing we brought Ken along today. I don't know what number he's on, but it's a lot. The fishing club is a really wonderful partner with a lot of research groups because the knowledge that club members have regarding fishing for different species of fish is pretty extensive. And they're on the water a lot, so they're pretty much dialed in on the rhythms of the fish. And so, bringing people like Ken along who know how to catch a fish is a big benefit to researchers, you know. So that's part of our idea with a collaboration like this, is to make the biologists' work more efficient. We're good at catching fish, they're great at studying them. So it's a great public-private partnership that we've been involved with for a really long time. And there you go, case in point.
Oh, they're doing fantastic. They're catching them up. It's absolutely fantastic to see everybody out here fishing and interested in the science that's behind supporting our fisheries. Oh, that's a nice one.
We're making Ken a citizen scientist today. Out here assisting our electronic transmitter tagging of juvenile mutton snappers. He's going to have a degree after today. The Lake Worth Lagoon is an underrated body of water, you know. It's got a lot to offer, and all the more reason why we want to really try to increase habitat, improve water quality, because the fish will come if you can take care of the resource. And so we're really invested in trying to increase mangrove habitat, oyster habitat. We clean the water, the seagrass will come back on its own. It's a special place.
What's interesting is Lake Worth Lagoon is really anthropogenically impacted. So if you look at its shoreline, almost the entire thing is developed. Yet we have so many high-profile sport and food fish that call this lagoon home for at least part of their lives. It's a really interesting environment to be able to do research in. Once we have tagged all of our mutton snapper here, and we will get that data back from their movements within and hopefully outside the lagoon, we'll have a better idea of how at least this species is utilizing the lagoon, and hopefully how the mutton snapper is actually utilizing estuarine habitats. Apart from that, my thesis is also looking at how mutton snapper in the lagoon are related to the larger population. The fish that are in the lagoon kind of have an unknown source. If they're coming from a specific spawning aggregation or just smaller groups of animals that are moving around, we're not really sure. So we're hoping to use some of the genetic profile of these animals to have a better idea of where they're coming from and how they're getting here. It's not going to be the whole story. This type of thing is really quite complex. But it's a great start. It's a great way to take a look and start answering some questions that can later evolve into some more complicated questions. And hopefully, once we put all these things together, our idea of what's happening in the lagoon, as well as throughout the mutton snapper's habitat, will be a little bit more complete. And we'll be a little bit better able to conserve and manage the species so that our future generations can also enjoy this beautiful animal.
All right, looks like we got a lane snapper here, and another species of snapper that's very abundant in the Lake Worth Lagoon. These guys only have to be 8 inches to keep, so they don't get nearly as big as a mutton snapper, but a lot of people will confuse a lane snapper with a juvenile mutton simply because they both have these dark spots on their back. But one of the best features that differentiates the two is the anal fin. And on a mutton it's pointed, and on a lane snapper it's rounded like you see here. And that's probably the best way. The lane snapper also has more of a yellow hue and doesn't have that really brilliant blue line under its eye, but it's really the anal fin that kind of gives it away. And these guys are tasty little snappers, and the Lake Worth Lagoon is full of these things. Great eating fish, very abundant in the Lake Worth Lagoon, and it's just really good to see snappers like this in the lake. All right, we got yet another species of fish here in the Lake Worth Lagoon. This is the very prolific Jack crevalle. Great fun to catch, and there's lots of them in the lagoon here. They can fight hard on light tackle, and great for kids, man. This fish was built for kids. Just a fun fish to catch on light line. Again, we're building upon our variety, but these are two of the more undesirables of the Lake Worth Lagoon. We have the channel cat here, which you do not want to touch its dorsal fin or its pectoral fins here, they are wicked. If you don't know how to handle this fish, you really don't want to mess with it, because it'll just stun you a little bit. So that's a pretty nasty fish. And then we've got this fish that Ken caught. Some people call them oyster crackers, stonefish, a rockfish. I mean, look at that face. That is a face only a mother could love right there. So yeah, you really don't want to touch either one of these fish. The best way to handle fish like this is to have a de-hooker like this, and you simply slide the throat of the de-hooker in the gap of the hook and then spin it, and it comes right off and the hook stays in the de-hooker. It's a really, really handy tool to have if you're going to be spending much time fishing like this in the Lake Worth Lagoon, especially because doing this, you're going to catch a lot of catfish. Not just these catfish, but big gaff topsail catfishes as well. There we go, just like that.
Meow.
All right, it's just not a fishing trip unless you catch a grunt. Some people call them blue stripe grunts. See the blue stripes underneath its eye? It's a species of grunt, very common. All right, we've got a boatload of citizen scientists out here with us today. This is Fishing Club board member George Patane and Matt Seegert and lifetime member Dan Miller. They've also had a successful day catching some mutton snappers for us to tag. It's a good thing we had some stellar fishermen involved today. We love participating in this kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, it's in our DNA. We just want to make researchers like you more efficient at your work by being able to capture these animals and get them tagged in an efficient manner so that the study can really move forward in an expeditious way. So really thankful this all worked out. The whole idea is to capture data that gives resource managers the ability to better manage the fish in a sustainable way. So if we learn certain things about certain species of fish that we really didn't know, that we might be able to tweak regulations so that the populations stay abundant and healthy, and so that we don't overfish some of these fish that we all love to fish for. So the end game here is to try and manage the fish in a really sustainable way so that we have fish to catch tomorrow, because that's why we're here. We love to fish and we want to be able to catch some tomorrow. All right, that's a wrap, man. We got a lot of fish today. I would call it a success.